So if you have ever been told that you have or are perceived to have privilege, and that on the grounds of that you should either take no part in the conversation, or that the conversation that is going to happen, that your opinions, that your viewpoint is going to be worth less than somebody else's, then this video and the conversations that hopefully result are for you. It seems to me from experience of people making this argument that the logic behind it runs something along the lines of, if we first pretend for a moment that human beings, Homo sapiens, have not evolved the ability to empathise and put themselves in the shoes of another person, that unless you've experienced something directly, or unless it impacts on you directly, that you won't be in the right epistemic position to comment upon it. Of course, I have to point out, for some unspoken reason which perhaps we're all supposed to just innately, intuitively understand, it only seems to work one way. We are all enabled, are we not, to pass judgment on merchant bankers and what they do. We can give our moral judgment on them, and we can also judge them on their lifestyles, even though most people, just the same as myself, have no real idea of what their lifestyles and stresses consist of. A few years ago, Prince Charles made some comment on what it's like to be poor, and he was roundly slagged off for it, because what the hell would Prince Charles know about what it's like to be poor? And yet we're all experts on what it must be like to be a member of the royal family. Seemingly we don't have to have grown up as a member of the royal family to know what it must be like. And that is despite there being documentary after documentary, show after show about normal people, and yet very little on what it's truly like to be a member of the royal family. Now, I wouldn't want anybody to take from this the idea that I'm suggesting that we shouldn't pass judgment, either moral or social, on bankers or on members of a royal family. I have no problems with that, but then I don't deny the fact that we have the ability to empathise and put ourselves in the shoes of other people. But it seems that this whole principle of invoking privilege as a means to shut people up is like some kind of inverted snobbery. It appears to be the exact opposite of the situation that existed a couple of hundred years back. A couple of hundred years back, the situation was such that effectively the most privileged people in society had the largest say in what went on, and then as you became less privileged in society, you had less of a say. You had less chance to speak your mind. There were less forums for you to be heard. And of course, in terms of the political side of it, you had no representation. Suffrage came, universal suffrage came piece by piece. First the middle classes gained it on top of the elites, and then the working classes. But of course that still didn't include women. And then finally women in the United Kingdom got the right to vote. We're trying to head, are we not? There's been a kind of principle, a kind of egalitarian ideal, which is that all people, regardless of their status in terms of privilege, should have an equal say in how society has run. And I thought that was the final word in it. I thought that's what we were aiming to achieve, and that everybody would be happy with that. But it seems for some people, even this entirely egalitarian system is not enough. In some kind of social or moral land grab, they want to evoke some kind of a situation, something like this, the kind of exact reverse of the situation of a couple of hundred years ago, whereby now the more privileged you are in whatever way they decide to assess your privilege, then the less is the input that you are allowed to have in the discussions that form the morals and the legal framework of our society. So why is this such an issue? Okay, well, to try and show you where I'm coming at with this, I'm going to outline a model which you can accept or you can reject. You're certainly free to do so on this channel regardless of your level of privilege. So let me move to one side and I'll show you the basic model. The model works along these lines, that we all have our opinions and beliefs, that those opinions and beliefs result in a debate, and then from that debate, as a result of that debate, we draw societal conclusions. Now, to elaborate or embellish on that a bit more, the opinions and beliefs are effectively unavoidable. There's nothing we could do about them. In history, people have tried to suppress people's ideas and beliefs, but of course people still hold them within their minds even if they don't get to express them. And nowadays I think we regard the right to your own thoughts as a basic human right. I don't think anybody is challenging that within these debates. But then when it comes to having the debate, debating the point in question, debating the hot topic, whether it's whatever kind of societal issue it is, the debate is where people get to express those opinions, where opinions get to be challenged. It is a marketplace or a courtroom, perhaps, for ideas. That is the hotbed where opinions can be changed. And it's the formulation point, the melting pot, that results in those societal conclusions. And those societal conclusions include your democratic right to vote, and the legislation that results from the parties that you have voted for. But it also includes the social and cultural zeitgeist within which we all live. I think most people would accept that taking a part of that is also something that we would like to uphold as a human right, certainly in terms of the right to vote for somebody that represents our viewpoint. So can you see the problem we have here? What we're saying is that on the one hand we accept that everybody is entitled to their own opinions and beliefs. On the other hand, that people are entitled to be a part of the societal conclusions, to form both part of that moral and social zeitgeist, and especially have the right to vote. And yet what we're saying is that we won't allow them to take part in the debate. That this point where all these opinions and beliefs clash and have a chance to challenge one another, no, those parts of the discussions, on the grounds that they are privileged, they should be frozen out from. And it isn't to say that their ideas are frozen out, because their ideas, their opinions and beliefs can be represented in that debate, just not represented by them. You have to find a kind of underprivileged champion to bring forward your ideas and beliefs. It strikes back again to the situation a couple of 100 years ago, where if you were working class, it wasn't that your opinions couldn't be represented. If you were a slave, it wasn't that your opinions couldn't be represented. It's just that you had to find a privileged patron who would take your ideas forward and represent it on your behalf. It seems to be a kind of inverted version of this now. Whatever your opinion on these subjects, they can be represented. But if you're a person regarded as privileged, they can't be represented by you. So that's the problem. We're kind of disenfranchising people from that very important middle segment. They're entitled to their opinions and beliefs, entitled to play a part in societal conclusions, but frozen out of the debate. So there is also one more thing which I'm sure some of the most quick-minded amongst the people watching this video will have already noted, which is that it creates something which almost borders on a paradox. And it's something along the lines of this: when we assess somebody's privilege, there's very little utility to be gained in assessing their privilege in the round, in terms of an average across all the social spheres that they take part in, the cumulative privilege of all their life, because things are so specific. And so you very much need to look at somebody's privilege within the specifics of the debate that is under consideration, not in terms of the privilege of something which is totally irrelevant to that specific debate. So here's the thing. What's the most important indicator of privilege? What's the most important factor that differentiates somebody that is privileged over somebody that is underprivileged? I would suggest to you that it is the right to be able to have your say, to express your opinions, and have people consider those opinions alongside the opinions of everybody else, and to not dismiss the opinions on the grounds of who it is voicing them. So this is the paradox then, this is the conundrum, which is that as soon as you start dismissing people from a discussion on the grounds of their privilege, then in the terms and specifics of that discussion, they become amongst the least privileged. Can I just suggest that we all go back to what we were aiming for in the first place, which is this kind of egalitarian ideal where everybody is entitled to their opinions, everybody is entitled to take part in the debate and be heard, and that everybody is equally entitled to take part in the societal conclusions that result. Thank you for watching this video, and bye for now.